So we all know that our days are crazy busy. We're busy with work, we're busy with home, we're busy possibly with school, community service. There's very little time to squeeze those want-tos into a day of have-tos. So the only choice we have is to fit them in those nooks and crannies of the day. So we have to think about our goals, our personal goals, as fitting in maybe 10 minutes at a time throughout the day. There are a few ways we can think about a goal that we might want to bump up to that 10-minute-a-day category. We probably have some things floating around in our head that we feel like are just projects that are just too overwhelming. I don't even know where to start. I know I need far more than 10 minutes to do it, and so we kind of push them to the back burner. That could be something like moving, if you want to move your house or apartment, hiring new staff, even cleaning out your garage could be one of those overwhelming goals you just don't want to tackle. Another category could be those scary goals, those goals that you feel like, I have no idea how I'm going to do this, I don't know if I'm going to be successful at it, and so we push those to the back burner too. And those could be things like saving for retirement, or writing a proposal to get more funding for a project, or switching jobs. Those could all kind of fall into that scary category. And then another category is self-indulgent. Those projects that feel like, or not even projects, just things that we'd like to do to have time for ourselves. It might be reading for pleasure, it might be surfing, it might be painting, anything that we feel like, oh no, I'm too overwhelmed with work, with home, etc. So we have to think of these goals that we might have floating around as, we have to remember they can't be done in 10 minutes, but we can move them along. There are probably lots and lots of steps, but we can take them 10 minutes at a time. So the key is not to panic that there are so many steps, and not to keep pushing it off for another month or two because we can't think through all the steps. Basically, you just want to do a slow build towards success. So a few examples of how to tackle a few of these different categories of goals. For example, that if you want to move to a new apartment, you could think of all the steps along the way. Okay, what's my budget? How far do I want to be from work? What size apartment do I need? Do I need a broker to find an apartment? And what is my goal date for when I'd like to move? All of these are steps that might take 2 or 3 10-minute chunks of time to accomplish each question, but at least we're slowly gathering the information so that we can actually move. Another example would be saving for retirement. That's a big, colossal, scary goal that we don't even know where to start. So you could start with one question at a time. How much can I afford to save each month? Could I email 5 friends to ask them, do they use a financial planner that they'd recommend? We could go online to do some of the different assessments and calculators that they have online to see how tolerant we are for risk, and what kind of mutual funds we should invest in, and how much money we'll need for retirement. So all of those, again, several steps. Each step might take several days, but we're working towards the result of saving for retirement. And then a very simple one in terms of that goal that we feel like is self-indulgent. If you take reading, some of us feel like we haven't read a book for pleasure in months. This is very, very simple. If we take a couple of days to select a book, maybe look at the top, the bestseller list, or look at books that we like in the genre that we like. So take a couple of days to pick a book, and then just 10 minutes a day, you can probably finish a 300-page book or a short book in about a month. So again, just inching along on that goal, but within a month you will have read a book, and you haven't read a book in months. Another way to think about what we might want to make time for in our day is when we hear ourselves say, I loved when I used to have time for blah, blah, blah. And it might be before we had kids, before we had this job, whatever. And maybe there's a way to bring that back into our lives a little bit at a time. Another phrase you might hear in your head is, one day I'd like to. That feeling that I'm way too busy now, but one day I'd like to have time to do this or that. And so we push it off, and that could be 10 years, 15 years, who knows when it'll happen. So could we kind of start to explore it now? So once you've selected your high priority goals or projects or things that are important to you, don't overanalyze whether they're too big or too small. You can chip away at them a little at a time either way. For example, let's say your goal is to climb Mount Everest. Obviously, that takes more than 10 minutes. But don't get hung up on that it's such a huge goal that you just can't face it. You can chip away at it a little at a time, perhaps thinking about, okay, I can research how much it costs to go to Mount Everest. I can look up what packing lists are required for Mount Everest, training plans that are required. So you can break it down and see, is this truly a goal that is important to me? And the more time you spend doing that 10 minutes at a time, the closer you get to making it a reality. Also, don't think of a project or a goal as too small. You might think, I really want to clean out my closet, but you think, oh, that's so incidental, it doesn't matter in life. Well, it can do a lot to your spirit to have a nice, clean, neat closet. So don't discount that. Get the closet done, and then you can move on to another goal. So the key here is to advance the ball a little bit at a time until your goal is a reality.